And welcome to the group chat on the two-way platform. We're glad you're here. We've got another exciting episode of news and debate to get to. But first, I would remind everyone watching to manifest the two-way ethos of peace, love, and understanding. We love reading your comments. We love listening to you. And if you want to offer any thoughts, questions, comments, please raise your hand and we'll call on you and you can participate in the discussion. But again, peace, love, and understanding. And that goes the same for the chat that appears and anywhere else you're discussing our show, because we've got a great one today. We've had some fantastic debates lately, I've thought, and we have another special guest star. David Carlucci is joining us. He is a former New York State Senator and a current political strategist. And of course, as always, we have Emma Jo Morris and Nina Turner. Nice to see y'all, and welcome, David.
Great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to get into it.
Excited to do just that. We'll start with our first story. A lot happening this week. Especially there's a grim weekend. A lot of very sad things to discuss that maybe we'll get into. But the big kind of political story of the week, I thought, was that Susie Wiles, or one of the big stories, Susie Wiles speaking to Vanity Fair, very candidly surprised a lot of people about her views of various Trump administration figures, including Trump himself. And a lot of people in the media were like, oh my God, I can't believe she said all that. And some people on the right were like, I can't believe she said those things either. What was she thinking? What were any of those people thinking? I had a slightly different take, but I want to first get Emma Jo, as a person on the right. Were you one of the people cringing that whole time, being like, how she said Elon Musk uses ketamine and is an odd duck, which of course we know that is true. She said that, Pam Bondi screwed up the Epstein files, which again, we know that's true. She said Trump has the personality of an alcoholic, which he didn't seem to take offense to whatsoever. So at the end of the day, she's just saying things we actually do know, but you usually don't admit. So maybe who cares? I don't know. What'd you think?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I kind of like the first morning when I woke up and read it, I was like, well, that's a little crass, but like, yeah, totally. I don't know why she did that, but I feel that. But yeah, like I mean, I did some investigating about this because just reading because it's a curious thing to happen.
Yeah.
And Miranda,
Everybody loves the media, loves to hate on the media until they're offering to put you in
please
Vanity
love
Fair.
me. Please love me. Yeah, every time. But yeah, Miranda Devine at the Post had an interesting column about this where she speculated that this was obviously some sort of long-term relationship that Susie had with this reporter, and
Mhm.
that sometimes you'll talk to sources, and it's like assumed by the source that it's all off the record because like 11 interviews too, like that sounds crazy. And the reporter was talking about how she would call him on Sundays after church. She would call him while she was doing laundry. It sounds like, from the way that it's described in Miranda's speculation, which I think is probably correct, that this was something that she was just gabbing, assuming she was off the record, and this guy was treating it as divulging information that's reportable because they never established explicitly otherwise. That sounds right. Miranda did ask Susie Wiles if that was true, and she refused to respond, which,
Mhm.
you know, and as she writes, which is like where your mind goes automatically when you read that line, it's like, which says it all.
Yeah.
Thing that I found most
You got to
striking.
be ready for that. We all know if you don't say off the record, it's not off the record. That's got to be the first words out of your mouth,
That
baby.
happens, of course, it's like, as we know very well in Washington and New York, you become personal friends with people or whatever who happen to be reporters or who happen to be in government. And it's like sometimes that relationship can get weird between personal and professional. But the thing that I found most interesting, I was just going to say quickly, is that they all posed for these like
Yeah.
photos that were like
Some
so
unflattering photos for.
very unflattering, which in their defense, you can't tell. Like, I don't know if you've ever had professional photos taken, or like a photo shoot of any kind, but the camera is just, it depends on the lens that they have. You don't know what they're doing with the lens or how much they're zooming in or whatever. But so in their defense, they were just posing and they didn't realize that the frame was like up to like here, like in their nose, you know? But I just found that cringe and not MAGA to be posing for a Vanity Fair shoot in like a group photo and then the solo shots with like Marco. Like, I mean, obviously they thought that these would come out more flattering, but just the fact that it happened in the first place seemed off brand.
So, David, Democrats are, I think, their fortunes seem to be improving. Would be their reading of the polls, Trump approval numbers. Midterms are now looking more very favorable for them. These kind of random special or off-season elections we've had have gone well for them. And I think even many on the right are looking at some things going on in the administration and seeing, some level of dysfunction and then also not a ton to show for it. I'm hearing that from a lot of people I know on the right. Like, well, we would tolerate the dysfunction, we don't care, but are we getting the agenda we wanted enacted? Um, are Democrats watching this and saying this is good for us, the dysfunction, because it's not going to get more functional. There's no chance they're going to enact more of their agenda in the future.
Right. I mean, look, Donald Trump, the GOP is going to live and die by the price of groceries, right? No matter what they do, no matter what they say, that whole spin is going to matter how much I spend on my ground coffee beans, right? And the problem I think that they have right now is that Donald Trump is amazing at passing the blame. Right, finding someone to blame and pointing that finger, and so he ran circles around Joe Biden, and he's still attacking Joe Biden, right? And I think that's going to ultimately be his demise because the buck stops with you. And of course, we on the inside, we can poke holes and we're keeping score every day, right? We're moving down the football field like it's a game and we're going play by play. But the American public overall, they are dissatisfied with affordability. And affordability, of course, means different things to different people. But just having Donald Trump, the guy who I'm sure we all grew up with thinking he went to the bathroom on a golden toilet, now he's talking about affordability and it slips that it's a new word to him. I mean, things like that are devastating to the GOP. And I think that's why in every election now, whether it's a special election or on election day we just had, when voters are given a choice, they're not voting for the Republican. And whether that comes in a style of Mayor-elect Mondami or comes in the style of Mikey Sherrill or Spamberger, the list goes on and on. It doesn't mean Democrats are just, one shape, one size. But anything but the GOP is what people want on the menu right now.
Nina, there was a lot of discussion of political retaliation in the Vanity Fair piece where Susie Wiles basically said, yeah, I would like a little bit less of this level of political retaliation, but Donald Trump, is wanting to do more of it. Is that like, is that, do the Democrats see that as, should they run on that? Should they say, oh, he admits, even his chief of staff thinks he does more political retaliation than would be wise?
Well, Susie was having a moment. I love it. I'm glad. I want more of it. Her candor. Now she's saying it's hit piece. She was having a moment, and to a point, that Senator David made, and also that Emma Jo. For Emma Jo's point about sometimes the lines can be blurred when you do have relationships with reporters or people who are from the political space, and sometimes you just kind of forget and you get too comfortable. And I want to share with the group chat community. Well, first of all, Robbie, I got to talk about this background because I want folks to know that it's 51 degrees in Cleveland, Ohio right now.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I specifically came into my home studio. I rarely do
Nice.
that. Just to show that, yeah, it's looking like this today in Cleveland. Okay, put that in the parking lot. No, I don't, all administrations want to get some revenge, whether they say it or not. It's just that President Donald J. Trump is all out in the open with it. I will tell you for certain that even the Clintons, President Obama, all of them, the Bidens, all of them have engaged, either them or their staffs have engaged in some type of get back. The fact that Susie is putting it all out there in the open about President Donald J. Trump, I mean, President Trump has said as much himself over the course of both this term and also the last term, but especially this term, him coming in feeling as though he has been transgressed in major ways and making it very clear that he is going to politicize in ways that should not happen, but has happened, not even just President Trump, but that he's going to politicize certain agencies and departments within the federal government. So I don't see anything that Susie said as wildly, pun intended, out of the ordinary. Now, when it comes to how giddy the Democrats should be, I caution them for getting too giddy because I swear to God that President Donald J. Trump has proven that he has more than 9 lives. It is a long way between now and the midterms, as Senator David laid out, though, in these special elections. Uh, the electorate in different states, different types of Democrats have chosen the Democrat, but Democrats should not get too giddy about this. At some point, Democrats are going to have to deliver something, and it cannot just be that I am against President Donald J. Trump. I'm over it. And just one more thing, the autopsy thing is really bugging me right now, Robbie. I know you didn't ask me about that, but I'm just really miffed, and I'm gonna keep it
Autopsy.
Which
that.
one?
Well, Emma Joe, I mean, the new Democratic chairman, the new DNC chairman.
Oh.
Now, he said he was going to govern a little differently, run differently. Now he is not going to release the 2024 autopsy. And I'm miffed about
I
that.
thought you were talking about somebody died. I was like, who died?
No, but
What
I'm miffed.
autopsy did I miss? So no, what now?
Sorry, the autopsy as to why the Democrats lost to
Yes.
President Donald J. Trump. Let me just clear that up. And one of the reasons why I'm miffed is because when sports teams play back what you did right and what you did wrong when you lose to a team, they ain't trying to, hold back because they might hurt the quarterback's feelings. They are playing those game reels so that you do better the next time. And so, yeah, I just had to throw that into the mix. I wonder what the two-way family with the group chat.
No, I agree with you, Nina. I think that's the issue, right? It's easy to rest on our laurels to say, hey, look, that was just a Trump phenomena that happened with our normal, positive demographics. And it gets easy to just sit back. But I think, of course, it depends on the economy, the climate that we're in. But how do we make sure that whether the climate is good, positive for Democrats or bad, that we're holding on to those constituencies? And I agree with you. That has to be the message. And what are those things that will translate? I'm not sure right now. I think it's smart to focus on healthcare. That's obviously been a bone of contention, and people are seeing that in their pocketbooks. But what are the issues that really resonate and that can be that brand for Democrats as we move forward?
Emma Joe, I think Republicans have a short window left to them to do something legislatively dramatic that would demonstrate that they care about affordability. Particularly, I argue they should do this for young people. They brought in a lot of young people into the coalition who voted for Trump in this election. Young people, young men, young men of color. These were all first-time Trump voters who thought something was going to get done about affordability. Housing prices still out of whack, childcare very expensive. Those kind of starting out expenses are a big problem, I think. That's what I'm hearing, frustration with those things. They have Congress right now. They have Trump. They have courts. They got to do something because after midterms, it'll be too late to show that they care. And what I see and obviously they can do a lot of different things at one time. I don't think the criticism, they're like, oh, they're so too focused on foreign policy. I mean, okay, the Trump administration's a lot of people. People can focus on foreign policy and do domestic things. It's not, I think the distraction argument is a little silly. But when they waste time making fun of Barack Obama's portrait and Joe Biden's portrait, who is that for? It's so silly and stupid. Who is that, the most fervent Trump devoted person is based, awesome. But we've got that person. That is an utter waste of time. Am I wrong?
No, I totally agree with you. And it's funny because when I was doing show prep for today, I was thinking God, who cares? Who cares? This is just jealous intrigue.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, you have to care. You have to study, focus, come up with a thing. But that's really how I feel, about politics kind of in general. And I think the Trump administration gets wrapped up, I don't want to say Trump himself, but and it's that in DC, as everybody kind of knows, I'm sure on this call, where you get into DC and you get wrapped up in the drama and BS in Washington that people in Washington care about, and you can lose sight of the forest from the trees, and I think that there is a bit of that going on. In fact, not more than a bit of it. I watched Trump's speech last night, and I can see his frustration where he's no, I really have accomplished things, and they maybe get overshadowed by line, and I'm seeing this like lurch toward identity politics. And
Oh,
when I
yeah.
see that, especially among young people, and I see that, and I'm like, this wouldn't be like, I feel like this is a conversation of somebody who can't uh get things like on track. Like this is an economic conversation, I think, under it all. I just find that like if the administration can really focus on the economic wins and on stacking up those W's, that this election could look totally different. But they need to focus and they need to treat it urgently, because right, like in time for the midterms. Because if you lose the midterms, I think all the work comes to a screeching halt. But if you can get past those midterms and somehow hang on to that Republican majority, I think, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential, but the economy needs to be everything. It is everything. And especially for young people who are looking at homeownership exactly never.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like I want to be obsessed with palace intrigue ever, right? I totally take your point that do real people care what Susie Wiles said about whoever? No, not really. Is it going to change or move votes that I thought Trump had that really awful Truth Social post about Rob Reiner? No. Does it, fundamentally alter the landscape of politics? No, but it was a pretty shitty thing to say in my view. And a lot of people on the right felt that way. And then we had to talk about it for a couple of days. No one made him do that. No one made him, take your eye off the prize. Some of this is pretty self-inflicted, is what it is.
It is. It's not the media. It's him.
Yeah.
The president of the United States just cannot help himself. But you know what? I'm gonna back that thing up. Most people are gonna be who they are ultimately. And this is who the president is. I'm telling y'all, he is a hockey puck. He is all over the place. What he said about Rob Reiner, definitely distasteful, hurtful. He didn't care because he says and does this kind of stuff all the time. So I think Susie Wiles was just channeling her inner Trump, as far as I'm concerned.
I appreciate her speaking candidly is good.
It was on record on purpose.
But I wanted to share a story with you guys, my colleagues. So something that you said, Emma Jo, about, or no, it might have been you, Robby, or you're on the record, off the record. So after the 2020, my candidate, certainly Senator Bernard Sanders, obviously, and the Democratic Party, the machine of the party, the neoliberals of the party, put their bodies on the scale in 2016, 2020. Okay, I'm put that in the parking lot. So this reporter called me after the primary, and I'm telling you, Emma Jo, I was fit to be tied. And I said some things. And one of the things I said was that in 2020, the voters of this country are going to have a choice about a bowl of excrement. But I said the word. I said, so it's going to be Trump on one side. He's half of that excrement. And Joe Biden is the other half. But it's still a bowl of excrement. And the reporter said, he called me back. He said, Senator Turner, he said, can I quote you verbatim? I said, verbatim.
Yeah, that's the way.
Yeah, good.
That's the way.
Verbatim. But you know what I mean? Like, I had been dealing with this reporter, and I would say, and I know to say off the record or on background, but I was so seething about what the Democrats had done twice that I wasn't holding nothing back. I will tell you, when I ran for Congress in 21 in a special election, the super PACs that were caping for my major opponent in the race, because it was 11 people, they used that, and they said that I was not sufficiently loyal to the Democratic Party, and I was going to be a headache for for President Joe Biden.
You should put that, if you ever run for office again, that should be your slogan: not sufficiently loyal to the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking.
Emma Jo, I was
like, wherever this story goes, it didn't matter, because Nina Shirley is the same on the record as she is off the record, which is the only way to live. And actually, in Susie Wiles' defense, great. I had Olivia Nuzzi, actually, who's in the news this week. Well, last week. She's kind of last week, but
last week
I did a thing with her where I literally went into her phone recorder and said, the following is off the record. This is Emma Morris. The following is off the record. And then we spoke. Oh. She printed the whole thing. But I don't care, because it's nothing I wouldn't say on this show or in private or to my own kid. I don't care. It's all me.
All right, we've got a couple hands, I think. does the production team want to bring somebody forward? Who's that? Is that Colleen? Hi. Hi, please unmute yourself if you can and let us know what's on your mind. Good to see you.
Hi, Robbie. Hi, guys. Thanks for
Hi.
having me. There's a couple of topics. I would discuss Trump's comments last night on healthcare, which I found, I know overall his speech was not fantastic, but what stuck with me, because I'm passionate about this, having lived in Europe for so many years, was that he said he was going to be the one, which is true. I think historically he's in a unique position to go up against, like he said, the special interests in the healthcare industry and the pharmaceuticals, because no one else in Congress and no one else in Washington will ever do it because they're beholden to them. So he already has made progress. And I'm a Democrat, by the way, but I'm one of the Democrats who can find some good in what Trump does. As you were just saying, you have to stay loyal. In certain circles, I can never mention anything that Trump does. But I think that was a very important point he made last night, and he is in a position to transform healthcare. If that's my opinion, I don't know what you guys think, but
Can you give a little more detail as to how you think so?
Because he has the unique position to go against and sway Congress and the politicians to vote in a certain way. And I think we should have a sort of Medicare for all system like they have in Europe. But as when I lived in England, they also have the option where you can buy privately to supplement it, which a lot of people did. I did. But this idea that the American public is sold that no one in Europe or Canada would ever want our healthcare system. They would love our healthcare system. They would never give up theirs for ours. And as I said, I experienced it for so long. But I just think that Trump is willing to fight the special interests and can shame some politicians, and because they're all beholden. I mean, we have the worst healthcare outcomes in the Western world, and we spend way more than anybody else.
So why do you think Trump hasn't done it yet?
I just think he hasn't focused on it yet. But if he thought, I can be the one.
But he talks about healthcare. I mean, healthcare is like the top issue right now. I mean,
recently,
Speaker Johnson ran out of town because they didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't even realize that he could be this transformative person who actually gets something done. Because we are, again, it's an embarrassment in the world how much we spend, and we have higher cancer rates, lower life expectancy. We spend about 14 grand a person, and other countries like France and Germany and Europe, who are far superior to us in many ways, spend about 6.
But
and
it's
all that
been a
goes to the
mystery.
insurance.
It's been a mystery to me.
Consider the difference of population, though.
Yeah, but we're spending way too much. I mean, regardless of what system you have, I agree. I mean, nobody's happy with what we have going on. We are spending so much money, and like whatever system we use, the government has to do some kind of reform where it brings down the cost of the pharmaceuticals and the medical services themselves. And then, if it's a Medicare for all system, if it's a more private system, it almost, in my view, people can disagree, it almost doesn't even matter, because the main problem is the service itself and the pharmaceutical self. The market mechanism is broken so that the price is too disguised, and whoever's getting billed is not, it's too divorced from who's paying it, and so they can raise the cost and all the middle manager costs that are, I think, really killing our system. I think I heard Mark Cuban was testifying about that a couple weeks ago. Went really viral, a clip of him, the former Shark Tank guy, talking about it. It went viral on social media. Really nonpartisan remarks from him, honestly, about the role that the middle managers in our healthcare system play in just driving the price out of just to insane degrees. Because if we're gonna do a Medicare for all system where it's paid for through taxes, well, then you do, in my view, have to have someone say, okay, but this medical service can only cost this much, because if they can just charge whatever they want for it and you're not paying for it because it's diffused across the entire population, it'll be the same thing as it is with like college tuition prices, where because it's kind of subsidized, they'll just
See, I think President Trump has really, and the GOP for that matter, have just taken a position that healthcare is bad, it doesn't work, and Obamacare has made it worse, but have not come up with any alternatives. Even President Biden push to make sure that some drugs could at least be negotiated with Medicare. And that was something that could never get done. And Biden used his political capital to get that done. Wasn't big enough for me to satisfy me, but why not move in that direction? Even during the campaign, you heard Trump on the debate stage with Kamala Harris said he had concepts of an idea of what they would replace Obamacare with. That was over a year ago, and we've heard nothing. I mean, today, Trump did an executive order to move cannabis to a Schedule 3, and hopefully that will get the FDA involved in cannabis, which they haven't at all. But maybe he's going to try to spin that to some sort of affordable prescription drug plan or something. But there really has been nothing. And
Well,
we're searching.
I don't think that there's one way. I think that this is obviously how Trump sees it, is that the big behemoth Obamacare or something similar thing where we do this huge overhaul or this huge reform is not realistic and is too politically radioactive, because when you're doing that, inevitably you're going to diss or shaft one demographic for another. So it seems that he's taking a piecemeal approach that is basically focused on cutting out middlemen wherever he can. So there's
But where has he done that?
Yeah, so there's three instances actually that I can think of that he's done that. And again, this isn't official policy, but this is what I'm seeing and what I can deduce from observation is, okay, yeah, exactly. As you said, we have a concept of the plan. It's too complicated. It's too complicated and it's too much of a beast. And it's too much of a hot potato. But most favored nation pricing, for example, where he has forced pharmaceutical companies to sell in the United States at the rate that they sell to the countries that Colleen is talking about, who, by the way, part of the reason why, as somebody who comes from one of those countries and lived in one for 23 years, the way that they get away, part of the way that they get away with that, the prices that they have, is because they do exactly no R&D whatsoever. They have the United States pay for that. And then once the drugs are done, then they buy them. Sometimes they even buy them like, the off-brand or whatever. But they have done zero research. They've done zero research. They've done zero manufacturing. They just piggyback off of the amount of money that we pay to do all of that, which, I mean, as I'm sure you guys know, I mean, this is like a known thing. It's like drug companies, they have like one drug usually that holds their whole company together after they've done tests on 100. So most favored nation pricing is actually allowing the United States or the American consumer to pay for what the thieves pay of our technology and of our drugs. Second one that comes to mind is the Novo Nordisk, where Wegovy and all these H1Bs. I'm mixing up things that bother me.
We know, Emma Jo. We know.
GLP-1s.
Yes.
Numbers, letters. It's almost Christmas, guys. GLP-1s now are at like 1/4 of what they were priced at before, because he just called up Novo Nordisk and basically was like, how are you gonna make something work here where these people aren't paying $1,000 a month to do this drug that's making them apparently healthier? And then the last one that comes to mind is Trump RX, which I don't think has launched yet, but it was in the big, beautiful bill, I think. But he was touting that last night too, where basically it's like a government website, apparently. Let's see if it works. It hasn't launched yet, but apparently the government website, you go on and you can buy drugs from the manufacturers directly.
Yes, we love that.
You cut out like 3 steps and obviously 3 cuts of profit, along the way. So, I think
that is something I think everybody can support. That one in particular.
Really,
those are all good ideas.
But so I think that's his attempt to kind of.
But it's like you're saying, you have to be a detective to figure it out. You have to be a detective, put your spin on it to figure it out, right?
Yeah, well, so if you're not thinking about it on that, in terms of what's the strategy, all you're doing is saying, I can get this.
But what he's doing is poking holes at where Democrats have spent political capital. Yes. Like you said, it's not easy. Remember, Obama pushed this through. It wasn't easy to do, but he did it. And then he has to pay the price of everyone attacking it, right? Yes. It's like, it's not perfect, so let me attack you. Meanwhile, the Republicans aren't doing anything. The things you listed, I mean, come on. Those are if this drug RX thing works, then I'll have to eat my words. I hope it does.
I really
I hope it does. But we haven't seen one person benefit from that yet.
Well, it hasn't started yet.
Nina, what do you
right? But that's the idea. Like, this is the future. Maybe it will work. Maybe it won't. But that's not going to substitute healthcare in America.
I know you, Nina. I know you think
about to explode. Okay, I'm about to explode here. Let me just say, Colleen. Yes, I'm with you, baby. I'm rocking with 95% of what you said. The reason why you said President Donald J. Trump is because he shows no fear when it comes to doing the stuff that he's doing. I don't agree with 99.9% of what the president is doing, but if he would use that incredible, I don't care what they say, attitude to push forward Medicare for all,
alcoholic's personality,
he could truly be okay. 68,000 Americans die every single year from the lack of health care. I think it was Data for Progress did a recent poll. Over 65% of the American people support Medicare for all by name. No system is going to be perfect. However, to Sister Colleen's point, okay, nobody in those other industrialized nations that have a universal type healthcare are filing bankruptcy, baby, because of healthcare like we are here in the United States of America. As Colleen laid out, our health outcomes are worse. We pay more money. It is obscene, it is insane, and it is immoral. And let me talk about my dear President Obama, about which I was a national delegate for him twice. Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, Mitt Romney care. Okay, because I'm old enough to remember that the ACA is really Mitt Romney care packaged in a different way. So while the Republicans talking all that smack, one of their own really created this. This was a giveaway to the insurance companies, which on occasion, President Donald J. Trump is correct on this. The problem with the president is he won't act on this kind of stuff. He needs to act on it. The best things about the Affordable Care Act was to stand on your parents' health care until you're 26. I guess they said the hell with you when you turn 27. And also when you have a pre-existing condition. Other than that, the Democratic Party had the opportunity when they had a trifecta to do more than what President Joseph R. Biden did. They failed to do it. And so President Donald J. Trump, if he wants to trump all of them, pun intended, that he needs to use what he has in terms of boldness to do bad, in my opinion, mostly bad. He should do good with it and show them all. So Colleen, I know where you're coming from, baby, with you. I'm rocking with you on that. Mr. President, stop listening to them fools who are in your ear. Go ahead and rock with Medicare for all. Now.
My personal preferred magic solution to prescription drug prices being higher in our country versus other countries is I would just repeal the FDA regulation that makes it illegal to import drugs from other countries. Like if it costs less in Norway or whatever, okay. Amazon has mastered the art of shipping things across long distances. You could just order it in Norway and ship it to the US. And then there should be a global market in drugs. We're too interconnected. But the FDA regulation...
Why can't we just do the right thing though, Robbie? Why can't we just do that?
I don't expect people to do the right thing or force them to do the right thing via the government. But if I can get government out of the way and let the market force them to do the right thing, then that would be my preferred.
But you think the market is doing right by people right now? I mean, we commodify.
Well, no, what I'm saying, but right now, they're charging us more and they're charging people elsewhere less. But I could just buy it there, but you can't because the government won't let you do that. So I would just get rid of that rule. But we've got another hand up, I think. Mitchell's out there somewhere. We always love to hear from him. Step right up. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. So I wanted to talk about something that didn't get a whole lot of attention out of the Susie Wiles thing, which was that she straight up out and out said that blowing up drug boats was for pressure on Maduro.
Yeah.
And that, people smarter than her thought that it was going to work. And then immediately after that, relatively speaking, the president puts on Truth Social that we're doing a naval embargo of Venezuela.
Yeah.
In order to basically stop their oil tankers, in order to reclaim the oil fields in Venezuela. And it just got buried. And so I guess my question is, that's a pretty big club to pick up and start wailing on on the president's administration with. Why has that not been something that, one of the, say, 2028 presidential hopefuls on the Democratic side hasn't just started shouting to the rooftops about? Because anti-war is a pretty strong, anti-regime change, anti-war is a pretty strong message to start on.
That's a great question. And in fact, most of the loudest opposition to this that I've heard has been from the Thomas Massie, MTG, Rand Paul wing of the GOP. Now, maybe my friends on the left or liberal friends might be saying that's not true. Democrats are speaking up about this. You're just not listening. So I'm open to being persuaded. But maybe that's a question for you, David. Do you think Democrats or am I just not listening? Are they not making that into a big issue? Is it?
Yeah, look, I think
feelings about it.
It's so hard to get anyone's attention right now, right? Just in the few minutes we've been talking, we've talked about a numerous amount of issues that just happened in the last 24 hours, right? Rescheduling of the cannabis, Rob Reiner, the list goes on and on. The Kennedy center is now the Kennedy Trump Center, I just read. I mean, the list goes on and on. So the caller is right. This is a big problem, and I've heard pundits try to spin it. It's like a wink and a nod. Like, of course it's regime change. Yeah. And then anyone that pushes back, because I've been in this position, they say, oh, well, you're in favor of drug dealers killing Americans. And that's the talking point they use on everything. Like the immigration issue. Somehow by getting rid of illegal immigrants, we're getting rid of murderers and rapists. No. Those are different things, and we can't correlate them together. And I get really disappointed when I hear these high-ranking elected officials claiming that these are drugs, that these are opioids coming into the United States, and we know that's not true. There's no documented proof that these are the types of drugs that are moving into the country. I'm sorry, what's that?
It's only cocaine.
Right. Well, that's right. So cocaine at very small levels is coming from this country. And the problem that we do have to have is that it gets in the drug supply, that fentanyl, other types of synthetic opioids. But that's not what is killing the tens of thousands of Americans that we're talking about. It's a respiratory depressant in opioids that's killing people. And yes, these drugs, cocaine, you name it, are bad, but they're not as lethal as some of these other drugs. But anyway, they're not understanding that very crucial point, or they're manipulating the public. And that you hear over and over again, that somehow this is about reducing crime, that blowing up those boats in the Caribbean is helping, us on the streets of New York. And if I disagree with that, or if I question the motives of the president, or if I question the accountability, I'm in favor of these horrible things from happening. That can't last for long. And they're using that over and over again. And I think more people are catching on to the fact that these issues don't correlate. You're hiding something. Show us what's going on. You were supposed to be the most transparent administration ever. And yet we have senators that don't have information that they should have. So this is a big problem. I can't speak to why it's not, transcending into the media waves or into people's sound bites. But I think that is a bigger picture than just this regime change that they're trying. It's the whole style of this administration.
So the Democrats should take issue with exploding people smuggling drugs into the country.
That's not the issue. It's the issue of what they're doing and how they're doing this, right? The fact that we believe that they're not following the procedures that we do when we enter into war or situations like this. To have people stranded on a boat and then go make sure they're dead, that has so many questions as to what are the true motives here. Are they from stopping drugs?
To kill them.
Or are they trying to kill these people?
Yeah, they are trying to kill them. We know that.
I think that's fine, but then they should declare war on them. I mean, I'm getting on terror flashbacks
what
myself.
war ought we declare on drug smugglers and cartels? Have they not declared war on our people and on us?
That doesn't obligate us to get around
our military that we've thought of in decades. Yes, murder the cartels. And
the most troubling piece about this is we know there are many things that this administration can do to stop drugs and stop drug cartels, and this is like the least of it. And they're
killing them is probably a good one.
Excuse me?
I think killing them is probably a really good one.
Who's them?
I mean, they
We
can't.
don't even know who these people are.
Yeah, but Amajo, we can't just blow people up without any. I mean, we can't even awful people on our streets, right? We're gonna arrest. We're gonna.
Yes,
Well,
you
we can if we declare war on them, but I mean, I know the administration takes the
It's
position.
designated the cartel as a terror organization. Yes, you can. They're bringing weapons of mass destruction into our country.
But again, like that is a whole, we're getting down a slippery slope. And we just point that at someone and say they're a terrorist or they have weapons of mass destruction and use this.
Yes, they do.
Off. But again, we're not sure of that.
We're not sure.
You know, I'm not.
Have you been to the inside of the country outside of New York lately? You're not sure.
No, and I don't think anyone can point to 100% certainty of what is going on here because we don't have that information.
But the last time the government said they were so certain about weapons of mass destruction was the most catastrophic foreign policy decision of my lifetime. So that's why
I'm using that term ironically because these actually are.
Well, I mean, you're not the only one using those terms. That's what Trump. I mean, Trump.
That's what Trump is using. But weapons of mass destruction. What are these weapons of mass destruction? And as someone that has been involved in drug policy very closely, but these are not the drugs that we're talking about.
What other drugs?
Well, things that are killing Americans in wide numbers, like fentanyl, synthetic opioids that are ripping through this country, and we have to stop. And the Trump's only answer to that is to blow up boats in the Caribbean or to build a wall. And that's not the way we're going to solve this problem. I don't disagree that we need to be hard on these cartels, of course, but we need to do other things like prevention and helping people with treatment. But that's not what this administration is doing.
I mean, in fairness, those are harder.
Right to kill terrorists.
They're much harder, but but the answer is not just kill terrorists that we don't even know or have been identified. The answer is to do something. Again, this is that the administration is blame. We won't really tell you the facts, but those guys are bad, and we're going to attack them. That's the style.
Do what?
That's the style of this administration, to point the finger, pass the blame. Your problems, they all stem from this group.
I mean, they can arrest
whether it's Somalian, whether it's a group in the Caribbean. The list goes on and on. They just point the finger.
Do what?
They can arrest them and seize the cargo without blowing them up.
Like exactly.
So we're supposed to send guys. Excuse me, we're pulling you over in the water.
Well, I know it's inconvenient for law enforcement to not just like kill people on sight, but we're a civilized nation. It's inconvenient that they just don't drop a bomb on Anacostia because that's where all our crime was, but we're not going to do that because it's not an authoritarian regime.
It's like we have to arrest and read the Miranda rights to terrorists from cartels who are bringing drugs into our country that have done multiple holocausts in the last 20 years.
But that is a pillar of what we stand for as this country, that you're innocent till proven guilty.
I do take your point. Like, I don't think we don't need to read ISIS their rights. But I do think
should run on that.
I think it's enough of a difference in my view, and you might disagree.
I mean, what is your this whole thing? It's just way too easy. This is the problem. This is not logical. Of course, it's emotional. But I could just point at anyone, accuse them of crime, and then call them terrorists and kill them without a trial, without any due process. No, that's not what this country stands for. And that's why then the skeptic in me says, oh, well, we have video that we've seen of people that are obviously unweaponized. They're stranded on a boat, and then they're killed. The order was to kill them, not to seize, not to have any proof, or to show that this was what was happening. They destroyed all the evidence. So yeah, there's some skepticism there. And I think it's our responsibility to ask those questions. And I hope they are right.
Let's get out. We got some hands we got to get to.
No. Hold on. I just want to clear this up for 2 seconds because this was litigated. This is absolute disinformation, what David is saying right now. No offense, with all due respect. But this was litigated weeks ago, actually, the Democrat double tap scandal. And there, first of all, was a lawyer sitting there, a military lawyer that was sitting there while these strikes were going on, A. B, those were not, we're on like a murder, we're just indiscriminately murdering. They had identified that these were drug boats. They shot at it. Then one or two of the guys that were on the boat got off the boat, or they were blown away or whatever. And then they tried to reapproach the boat to save the drugs. And that was when they shot them again, because we have designated the drugs as a weapon and these people as terrorists. So if you're on a battlefield, let's say, and you shoot at a terrorist who's approaching you, who is a threat, who is identified as such, and he gets thrown away from his weapon, and then he runs back to get his weapon again. David, you're in that position. How are you assessing that situation?
That is not the information that I've seen, and
That is exactly what was
the basic
reported. This was
information
a
that I
hoax.
know. I'm not an
Democrat
expert
hoax.
in this,
Yeah, I don't
but
have any
if someone is
problem.
disarmed, there are rules of war that we engage in, and it sounds like a major conflict. But again, we don't have all the information. We don't have all the facts. So I'm not claiming that I know them. But what I am saying is that I feel that we are looking at this in a very opaque way, and the administration, for whatever reason, is doing that purposely. But and just say that, oh, they're terrorists, so we should blow them up, I think is very dangerous precedent for all of us to take.
All right,
that
we
there
gotta
are
get
rules that we have to
That's
engage
the
by.
Democrat
get some
position. They
community
should make
members here.
that very clear.
We've got Ryan. We've got Ryan waiting. Ryan, step forth, if you will, please. Good to see you.
Hello, folks. I just had a question for Emma in this regard. And I think I've mentioned this on other two-way platforms. The Sackler family. At what point are we going to put them in jail?
Agreed.
Quite frankly, they started this mess.
Yes.
Fentanyl has just made it even more critical.
Yes.
And yet all they have done is been reduced to civil litigation. I have not seen that any executive or any one of their family members who were runners of those companies have been put in jail. You're taking it to the extreme, Emma, quite frankly. And why have we not done more? Why have we not done more to go after the folks within our own country, let alone those that we, quite frankly, we have not litigated? We don't know whether or not it's a fishing boat or a drug boat. I'd just like that to be addressed.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I have nothing to say to disagree with what you just said. Nothing. The Sackler family is a disgrace, an utter disgrace, most contemptible people you can imagine. I don't know them personally, obviously, but what they've done is utterly unforgivable. The fact that this has been somehow waved away to civil litigation is disgusting, and a travesty and an insult. I feel very passionately about the drug issue, about the fentanyl issue, for various reasons. I would like to think chief among them, humanity, humanness. And the fact that they've been allowed to get away with this is outrageous. I listen, I feel the same. These, whatever, I mean, they're not the same as the cartels for various reasons, but they have their own problem. And
I'd like to know why they're
properly.
I'd just like to know that, I mean, just because they're covered in the veneer of a corporation, why they are any different outside of the fact that, okay, yeah, cartels shoot people up for their influence. I mean, these folks were using their influence as a corporation and their salespeople to target doctors that were willing to write scripts that were essentially fraudulent.
Totally feel that. I totally feel that. And there's other drugs too, like, in my opinion, Ritalin, which is meth, that you're seeing with the same, have the exact same pattern once again. Yes, totally. Listen, you have a sympathetic ear here. I don't know what to say about that, but we're talking about these drug boats now. But yes, I completely agree with you, of course.
Nina, you got something to say?
Hey, talk that talk, Ryan. Lay it on out there. Baby. Yes, you did that. I'm saying amen, Ryan, Robby, to all that.
We've got Frank, I think. Frank is with us still. There he is. Hey, good to see you, my friend. What's on your mind?
Well, this is kind of an interesting conversation. The administration seems to be determined to do a couple things. One of which is to get rid of Maduro in Venezuela and just cause that government to collapse. They haven't said that. Susie Wiles said that maybe, but not directly. We would like to really know. It's all secret. And we just don't have any news at all on this score. But the other thing is that they want to do something about the drug cartel problem and the drugs. Well, Americans apparently import $150 billion worth of illicit drugs. And I can't figure out what the breakdown between cocaine and fentanyl is. And I'm not sure what any other drug might be. I can't imagine people, asking for some, a fatal dose of fentanyl on the street. This fentanyl is going into other products, okay, right, which possibly cause trouble. But the main product that it could be used in, for example, would be cocaine. And the cartels that distribute this stuff must be doing, I'm just guessing now, I don't know, must be doing most of their business in cocaine dollars. And the fentanyl is just, additional. And it makes their life a little bit easier because they can mix it up with other stuff and give it a bigger kick.
Right.
So anyway, so that's the value of the fentanyl, but the dollar amount has to be coming from some other drug and not marijuana anymore. So, what could it be other than cocaine? So getting rid of the cocaine seems to be like key to cutting down the power of these cartels. And I don't know why there's not direct military intervention in Mexico with the cartels. It seems to me they'd say they were going to do that, but they don't. But getting rid of it from Colombia and which transits to Venezuela, allegedly, we don't know. We don't know anything. But anyway, so getting rid of that seems to be sort of helpful and also cripples Maduro, along with, of course, the blockade. Let me just finish here. I'm almost done. Anyway, so these pictures of boats being blown up, and I have no doubt that the intelligence is accurate. These are full of cocaine, whatever they are, packets, bricks. That's to be and distributed to Americans and worldwide. This is to discourage the boat runners from doing their job, and we don't, and then you have this double tap. And the double tap is going to be, the mission, of course, is to sink the boat. If you sink the boat and the guys are in the water, even though they might be on a kill list, I don't think the military would kill them. But the mission was to sink the boat. And they were on the boat, and they sunk the boat, which completed the mission. This is sort of a military mindset. And quite appropriate because they're trying to rescue the boat or something. Who knows? I don't, Okay, so anyway, that's my take on this thing, and we have no information to really figure out what's going on other than this speculation that I just spouted. So I don't know. I guess I'd like to have your opinion on all this.
I mean, I think you made a lot of astute observations there. Although my kind of like libertarian alarm starts to go off when we talk about, there's massive American demand for cocaine and has been for a long time. That's why it is profitable for them to try to ship it here. You blow up some of their boats, the price of it goes up, and they try even harder to get it into the country where they can sell it and make money. My own view is that we have waged the war on drugs for decades, and if waging it a little bit harder was going to somehow end the American demand for cocaine or heroin or marijuana or whatever the substance is, we would have solved it, and we're not going to do that. But Frank brings up a great point about the fentanyl being not really something people try to get themselves hooked on, but something that is itself, just is in a different drug. And people don't know. And so it's almost more akin to overdosing on fentanyl. It's more like accidental or inadvertent poisoning. It would be like if there was arsenic or something in a product that you didn't expect there to be. Now, I would be interested in exploring whether a greater, because I'm for legalizing drugs, and some greater legalization scheme would then create more transparency about what substances are actually in there. And then you could, just like if on the grocery store, aisle, there's arsenic in your cornflakes, you can sue the ever-living F out of who makes that product. And if we could do that with drugs too. Now, nobody has the stomach really for legalizing harder drugs, so maybe that's just my own pipe dream. But
my point there, and what I was trying to articulate before, is that what we have to be careful of is this idea of, oh, there's drug dealers there, bad, or these drugs, that means they're killing Americans. And those don't always correlate. And I think in many cases, what I've seen with this administration is they dangle this red herring and they say, look over here, and we're going to solve all the problems if we just attack this or that person or this group. And that's where we have to be very careful about and ask the hard questions to make sure, is that right? Is that accurate? And what I found in many cases, it's not.
This isn't like an identity group. This is cartels. It's not blaming
again,
the group. It's blaming the group bringing in the drugs.
But from this one country that we know, we could read many reports that say that's not the big drug problem. This is not where the drugs in America are coming from, whether they're cocaine or any other drugs. They're minimal in terms of the overall supply into the United States.
Where did the drugs come from, David?
I'm not particularly sad that the drug dealers died, and I myself didn't.
That is not the point.
About
we're
the
being bamboozled.
Shot, because if it's appropriate, if it's okay for them to blow up the boat, I don't know why. You have to assume everyone dies. I don't understand why it was really not a problem to kill them. My question is this really, and again, Frank brought this up, I do suspect what this is really about is regime change in Venezuela, which, okay, I am actually open to that argument, but then I want to actually be sold on why deposing Maduro is a good policy. I want it discussed, I want it debated, and I want it voted on or voted against by my congressmen so I can then hold them accountable if it goes badly, as we did with the Iraq War. That's my issue. It's fine. You think this is important too? But you got to sell me on it. Sell me on it. And they're not doing that right now. Let's get a Nina. Any final thoughts from you?
I mean, it's a combination of what, David is saying. I certainly don't agree with everything. More than one thing can be true. Rules of engagement, Congress certainly has abdicated its responsibility to be the check and balance on this president.